Cincinnati Bengals and the Tennessee Titans, 2.5 in favor of Cincinnati on the road. 41 is your total across the board. We are getting injury news as we are sitting here. Traylon Burks ruled out for the Titans in this one. So if you didn't like that, and Joe Burrow gets in 2 full practices in a row for Cincinnati. So still less than a field goal. You would have thought a healthy Burrow minus a Burks would have sent this thing on at least to 3 on the other side of 3, but I don't think, Adam, I think in the grand scheme of things, I don't think people are still convinced that Joe Burrow's healthy. I am not convinced that Joe Burrow's healthy. I think Joe Burrow is just out there kind of gutting through these performances. I don't think we're going to see the true version of Joe Burrow maybe at all this year, but is an 80% Joe Burrow good enough to cover a 2.5-point spread against the Titans, who, as we know, the biggest pass funnel defense in the entire NFL? You could just we could all throw for 180 yards on this. We could do that. What say you?
So last week I had 2 games where I told you guys that I was off market on the game, right? And it was one, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Well, I was wrong on that, and I lost on the teaser. The other game that I was significantly off on was the Cleveland Browns, and I was not at all wrong about that. And who did the Cleveland Browns play last week? So this week, I am again off market, but only on one particular game, and it is again against the Tennessee Titans, and I'm not going to miss it this time. I make this game Cincinnati 5.5. And I know that's probably really aggressive considering what Joe Burrow's situation is, but I think every week that we see Joe Burrow out there, we have an offense with Zach Taylor that has the opportunity to adjust to the fact that Joe Burrow is in the situation that he is in. Now, I'll give you this caveat on it. Joe Mixon is still pounding the ball into the line and not accomplishing a whole lot when he does. So if they insist on doing that against a Tennessee defense that is pretty much inviting you to pass the football, they want you to pass the football, they do not want to allow you to run, then, good on you for betting the Tennessee Titans. But I will be laying the 2.5 with Cincinnati. I think this is an overreaction to the Burrow injury. I think it's an overreaction to the Titans beating the Chargers, and I'm perfectly comfortable at less than a field goal with Cincinnati.
And Adam, I think to kind of further the point that you were making, I think we kind of saw it in real time last week, right? Like, I think that they figured out what to do with the passing game in the middle of the game last week, right? Where it was just kind of like, okay, this other stuff we're doing is not working. Let's try and do this, and let's do that. And it worked from that point on. And I think now we come into a game in which they're just going to go with what was working as opposed to trying to square peg round hole the situation with Burrow and the calf and all the different stuff like that. Steven, 2.5 in favor of Cincinnati on the road against the Titans. What say you?
I only heard the tail end of that with a connection issue, but I think we're all aligned here that this line is a little bonkers. That the original line before the season started at 4.5 for Cincinnati, and what Tennessee has shown us to this point in the season, Joe Burrow's healthy. I know he's banged up, but he got through Monday night healthy, back-to-back full participants. This line shouldn't be less than 3, in my opinion. No other injury concerns for Cincinnati as well. So I don't know why this line is still sitting under 3. I would be still very surprised if it's not at least 3 come kickoff on Sunday. So I don't know what the hell I'm missing here, but I don't get it, man. I mean, I know the Cincinnati offense looks suspect against the Rams. They only crossed the 30 one time in that game. They got out of the game fine, and the Tennessee defense is not very good. And then the Tennessee offensive line, I'm sure you guys already talked about. It's terrible. And I know the Bengals defense has looked average for most of the season, but we saw what they can do against a compromised offensive line and what they did to the Rams offensive line on Monday night. So yeah, I'm with you. This was one of the easiest bets I made this week, Cincinnati -2.
The other thing I think is, if you do believe in Cincinnati in this game, I think there's a correlated play that you can make, which is there's a 70.5 rushing prop on Derrick Henry out there. And Derrick Henry's losing a lot of snaps. And if this game gets down, his ass is on the sideline. Like he is not out there to catch passes at all. Right. And so if he's losing rushing snaps as it is anyway, and then if this game does get to where they're in a trailing state, then he's not even going to be on the field, much less getting rush attempts in this game. There's a 70.5 where, to me, I think we're not seeing a completely washed running back, but we've been talking about this for the last few years, and I think it's now finally coming to fruition, where he can't just be Superman behind a shoddy offensive line anymore, right? Like it didn't matter before because he was still young and had all the tread on the tires and all that stuff, but like now it just your mortality and age and stuff just finally does catch up with you. And Adam, I just look at this and I see a guy that is going to need a little bit bigger lanes than he needed a couple of years ago. And he's going to need a game state, which favors him a little bit better than he did a couple of years ago. And I don't know if this is the spot or the opportunity.
So I would take what you just said, Matt, and we don't talk a lot about parlays, same game parlays, etc. But if you wanted to try to play that tail, right, you're playing that tail on Derrick Henry under in your game script saying that the Cincinnati Bengals are going to win this comfortably. You could push Cincinnati out to 6.5, right? And really really lean into this for same game parlay where you're saying, okay, Cincinnati to win by more than just about a touchdown, and then Derrick Henry under as well.